All right, being that it's 6:30, I'm going to call the Town of Belgrade Board of Select Persons October 19, 2021 meeting to order. Let's start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll take a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes, Ricky, say yes. Oh, is Ricky still around?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, so the first part of our meeting is public comment, and that is the portion where members of the audience who have something that they would like to bring to the select board's attention that maybe not be covered on this evening's agenda. Speak. All right, seeing none, we'll move right along to old business. First item on the agenda is the approval of the October 5, 2021 board meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. That item is open for discussion.
Showed it showed that I wasn't at the meeting, but I was.
So it does say members present. Melanie, Barbara. I think the part where you weren't present was when we reopened after executive session quickly. I think you had already stepped out on that one. So you weren't there for the executive session going back into the public meeting, but you were there for the whole rest of the meeting.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. I just, yeah, good.
Yeah, I think we closed executive session and then went and got Anthony and you had already said goodnight.
Yeah, I think so. Just one thing under remote attendees, Lois Hazlett is Hays.
Oh, okay.
Lett. Hazlett.
Good catch. All right, is there anything else? All right, seeing none. Take a motion to approve. Actually, I'll make a motion to approve these minutes.
Sorry.
Moved and seconded. Barbara?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
All right, 4 yes on that one. Next, we have the approval of the October 6, 2021 select board meetings minutes. That was an executive session. I'll take a motion to open that item.
So moved.
I'll be here.
Seconded. All right, that item is open for discussion. All right, seeing none. Ricky?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And 4 yeses. Those are approved. All right, next up, we have new business. We have consideration of appointments.
Melanie, there's one other thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's go back to old business and I'll take a motion to open the discussion and consideration of the 2022.
Make that motion.
Second.
Seconded. That item is open for discussion.
And our town clerk, Mary Bogle, has joined us remotely.
All right, Mary, you want the hot seat?
Hi. No, so I just kind of laid out the time frame. If you decide to have a complete referendum, the deadline and public hearing deadlines. And then if you decide to have a bifurcated meeting, the deadlines are laid out there as well.
All right, so I'm going to read those out loud, Mary, so we have them in the public record. So town meeting timeline, if we choose to go all secret ballot referendum, all referendum questions must be finalized by January 19th. A public hearing should be held within 30 days of the election date. If it is determined to be Saturday, March 19th, the last day would be February 17th. Ballots would need to be available to the public by February 18, 2021. If we do,
2022.
what's that?
22.
22.
Oh, 22, yeah.
Time flies.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you guys are late, get those in. All right, if we choose to do a bifurcated town meeting, All secret ballot referendum questions would need to be finalized by January 19th. The public hearing would be on the referendum articles only, February 17th, and would need to be held prior to the release of the absentee ballots on February 18th. On the floor articles do not have to meet the deadline of January 19th and can be worked on until we send the town report to the printer. That is usually the first week in February.
So it's a difference of about 2 weeks.
That is a difference of about 2 weeks. So I guess my question for the board is, do we want to make the decision now on which way we go, or do we want to wait until after November 2nd when we have a full board? Because that we were split 2-2 on the last one. Are you all comfortable waiting until after November 2nd?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't changed mine.
Have you changed yours?
No.
Ricky, have you changed your opinion?
Say that again?
Have you changed your mind about the meeting?
No.
Okay. So I will make that we hold the decision until after the November 2nd election, so that we have a full board of 5 on the board of select persons in order to make that determination.
Sorry.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Ricky?
I'm having trouble hearing you guys. What?
So Ricky, my motion was that we wait until after November 2nd so that we have a full board of 5 to make the determination on if we do a bifurcated town meeting or if we do all written ballot.
I believe it does have his hand up.
Okay, hang on, Ricky. We do have Bruce. Go ahead. Bruce Galouche.
I'm muted, Bill Rose.
Bruce, did you have something to say? Okay, you're still muted.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Okay. So my question is, if it does go to secret ballot, are you going to be able to get the annual reports out before the absentee ballots have to be out and before the public hearings?
We'll be able to get what?
Town reports out.
The town reports out.
'Cause that's the only way you're going to get the information out to the taxpayers ahead of time.
So, public hearing, last date we could do it would be February 17th. If we get the town reports out like we normally do the first week in February, folks will have about a week and a half or so, depending on how long it takes for the postal service to deliver them all, but about a week and a half before the public hearing.
So Mary, can you give us some guidance on when we typically receive the town report back from the printer?
So usually it's not till the end of February and they go out around the 1st of March. So it's gonna be after the public hearing. And we moved the town meeting back 1 week. It used to be the second weekend in March, and we moved it back 1 week so our residents would have it in their hands for 3 weeks. So that still puts us in the time frame that we normally would be in. So it's no, Bruce, the town reports will not be out before the public hearing.
Well, I see that as an issue, personally.
So
No, when we've done this in the past and had the written ballot, the hearing the same way, so nothing there has changed.
So we could still post it on the town website and it would still be available for people if they wanted to, seek out the warrant. But as far as the town reports being out, I don't see that happening.
But historically, the town report has not been in the townspeople's hands prior to the public hearing. Because
No,
our hearing dates are set by state law, so.
But you gotta remember too, that if you're doing
The whole,
the whole, if you're doing it split, you're gonna have a lot less people that are gonna vote immediately after that. They're gonna do it all, probably people will just say, all right, we're not gonna do it. So really, we need to find out, have the information.
So I guess my suggestion would be that we print up some packets of what the questions, what those referendum questions will be, and have them available at all of our town facilities, so that folks do have ample opportunity to pick up a copy of those if they choose to participate in the public hearing, and if not, they still have a copy of them ahead of time.
right, we could do that.
Would that take care of that for you, Bruce? We can send some to you in your truck and you can pass them out.
well, just my concern is if you go secret ballot for everything, you're doing the whole town budget. And a lot of people like to compare last year's budget to this year's budget and look at expenditures, all the reports on the, some of us really go through that with fine tooth comb. Some people don't, but some of us do.
Well, I think what I hear Mary saying is, whatever we send to the printer, we could actually print some copies ourselves and distribute those to anyone who wanted them in our facilities and have them here available. We of course post it on the town's website. So is that a fair assessment of what you were saying, Mary?
Yes, that is.
Because we will have those proofs.
Right. So we could still print that up and it would still have what we would see for information in the town report for those particular questions. All right, so there's a motion on the floor that's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All right, seeing none. Barbara?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
Rick? Did we lose you, Ricky?
Okay, yes.
Okay. 4 yeses, no no's. We'll hold that item until after November 2nd. All right, now we'll get to new business. All right, so first up, we have consideration of appointments. The first one, I'll take a motion to open that item.
So moved.
Bad.
Moved and seconded. All right, so the first item we have is Linda here.
She is not here, but it is a reappointment.
It is a reappointment. Okay, so first up, we have a reappointment of Linda Bacon to the Board of Parks and Recreation. She's been on the board in some capacity since 2005, 2006.
I'll make that motion. We accept that.
Second that. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. Rick?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Dan?
yes.
All right, 4 yeses. I'm just back in. All right, and the next up is we need to put someone in for the alternate addressing officer for 911. I will make a motion that we appoint Anthony Wilson to that position.
Second.
Moved and seconded. That item is open for discussion.
Who's the primary?
So typically it's the code enforcement officer, or at least it has been for us. But we do need someone appointed in that position. We actually had a request just the other day for an addressing. And so until we have a code enforcement officer hired and then appointed to that, then I would I'd be happy to serve in that capacity.
Then if you're the alternate, then if the code enforcement officer for whatever reason isn't available, then you would step in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none. Dan,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
I heard you that time. All right, 4 yeses. All right, so next up, we have discussion and consideration of replacing the trees in the village green. So we'll take a motion to open that item. Moved and seconded. All those. All right, that item's open for discussion. I don't see. All right, so I don't see one of the people that I thought might be here for this. So a couple of residents have asked if we were going to replace the trees in the village green that came down after the microburst. We have that small Christmas tree, smaller tree, and they wondered if we were going to consider planting a bigger tree. So I was hoping that Marie would be part of this because she and another lady had offered to donate towards the purchase of that tree. She did send a picture. She tried to get a picture of this particular tree that apparently there's a few of around Augusta. Panera was one of them. It's kind of a flowy evergreen that she thought looked hardy and seems to be doing well over by Panera where there's tons of traffic. So I didn't get a chance to go to Panera because I was going to try to do like an actual tree identification
It
thing.
looks like a blue spruce.
But it didn't look quite as, she thought it was probably a spruce of some sort. Do you think it's, because mine's really pokey.
Yeah.
Blue spruce. So I guess let's chit chat. What's everyone's thoughts? Do we want to replace a tree down there? Do we want to put a big tree? I think Anthony, you said that Lynn Matson had talked to some folks as well.
Yeah, he said that he had received some offers to help replace that. And he reached out to the landscape architects who initially designed the park. And he has not heard back from them. He said he was going to reach out to them again to see if they had some suggestions about what would be a good tree for that space and where might be a good place to plant.
But he shouldn't be reaching out to them. They don't own that anymore.
Yes, but I think he was just offering to help.
Just have him reach out and have the architect communicate with him and stuff. That isn't really the way it should be done.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to ask him to have the architects contact me, and then I can bring a recommendation to the board.
That's, I mean, if the town's gonna be responsible for that property, and we own the property now, we're the ones that really should be.
Oh, yeah, and believe me, Dan, I mean, I would, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, the idea was, I would bring it to the board.
Yeah, no, and it's just, my thought is though, if it goes through somebody else, then the cost starts going through town, and people start talking about what's going on with it, and it hasn't come back to the board, so we really don't know what's going on. So it really needs to go through the board.
Okay.
And are we talking about the trees along the side under 27? Because weren't there 2 trees in addition to the big one that was at the point? There
Well,
were
so-
a couple on the side across from Belgrade Pie that also came down.
Well, one of those was cut down prior to the microburst because it was dead. Yeah. And so we had contracted with All Seasons to remove that one. And then during the microburst, two trees came down, including the big one that had served as our, I guess, sort of our, would it be official or unofficial Christmas tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Official and officials, exactly what it is. So what are folks' thoughts? I mean, I don't have any idea how much an evergreen tree costs. I know the only thing that I could think of would be Trees to Please and Norwich Walk might be able to give us some guidance.
It just depends on how big you want to go.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, because if you get a 15-year-old tree, then they're talking some
You're
height
talking-
and some
Yeah,
chain.
you're talking thousands
Yeah,
because of the way it's gonna done and put in it. You know.
and we're kind of in probably the best time frame for it because your evergreen trees that you want to either plant it in the fall, or you want to plant it in the spring. And we're kind of right on the cusp of that.
Well, maybe we should wait to hear back from, try to reach out to the architect again. And
Well,
landscape
I mean,
architect and-
one thing that we could do is go ahead, if people are wanting to donate, we could start soliciting some donations and create an account for those donations for future use for purchase of a tree or trees.
And
But maybe we should know ahead of time
and
about what the range would be if we're talking about, one large tree or one medium-sized tree, just to get an idea.
How's the hand up when you get a minute?
Yep, I do see that. And we also have to decide if we want to put another tree there. Try to replace that big tree. Carol?
I just wanted to add that when we were doing the road reconstruction and a number of trees were taken down, there was a lot of discussion about replacing those trees with a mature tree. And it is very expensive to do. There are only 2 or 3 nurseries that the state of Maine said to get a tree of the size that I think you're talking about. And you are talking in the thousands of dollars. The other piece is the tree has to have deep watering daily for a couple of months. So if we move forward with putting a tree there, we would have to make sure there was someone who's going to water it on a regular basis. And that was one of the reasons why we stepped back from trying to replace some more, with more mature trees when the road was being done, was just having people that could, be willing to water every day with the deep watering to get the tree to root. So there are a couple of companies, they come with a huge ball, root ball, and it's a process to do. It can be done. It's a question of dollars and then a commitment of who's going to make sure it waters and gets watered well enough so it does not die.
Thank you for that. So maybe now is not the best time for us to look at planting an evergreen,
Right, if it.
because it's October now. So
Right,
if it needs
if
a
it
couple
requires
of
more
months
watering.
of deep watering, we may not be in the best spot right now for that. But that certainly gives us time to figure out which avenue we want to take if we want to maybe consider something like that for the spring.
And Melanie, the landscape architect for the state, I'm sure would help with, getting the names of those companies that do it. And he may also have some that might survive better than others, knowing the situation with the road and so on.
That's a really good idea.
Carol, I remember meeting that fellow once before. Can you please remind me what his name is?
Ken, I will pull his name. My brain isn't working, but I will get it for you, Anthony.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, does anybody else want to weigh in?
So do we want to wait until we sort of figure out what we're doing before we
Yeah,
actively solicit donations?
yeah, I think we need to have a better idea of what would work, what we want, what we're talking, if we're talking about,
Cost.
$500 or $5,000 or more.
Right.
So I think it's,
I think you'll find it for a tree that's 10, 15, 20 feet tall, you're probably talking $2,000 to $3,000 for the tree.
All right, and then we have a side note here that says we cannot solicit donations. Can we put donation containers around town, or is that considered solicitation?
That's considered solicitation. It's similar to honoring the first responders and what they were going to do. And as a municipality, you can't solicit donations.
So private citizens could do it on,
Private citizens could donate on their own. You just
Oh.
can't go out and ask for their money.
right,
Which is, you know, what happened with the firefighter photos. So maybe that would just happen organically in this instance as well.
All right.
Let's
so-
get some information on it. We'll bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take a motion to table that item for a future meeting while we gather some information.
so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, all those in favor, Barbara,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
right, 4 yeses, we'll hang to that one. All right, next up, we have the discussion and consideration of information technology RFP. So our contract with Maine Technology Group is expiring. Anthony and I had talked briefly about whether or not we needed that to go out for request for proposal and determined that that would probably be in our best interest. So, sorry, I'll take a motion up in that item. Just got talking.
some of,
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
yes,
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, now we can chat about it. So it was a little tricky because the contract originally, isn't actually dated. So who we use now reminded us that the contract was coming up. But, so we need to be really cautious of when we sign a contract that has the date on it so that we can use that going forward. So did everyone have a chance to look through the RFP?
yeah, it seems pretty comprehensive to me. Where would this be?
So, so we would advertise it on the Maine Municipal Association website. We would send it out to some area vendors that we know of. And maybe contact some other towns to find out. And send them to, send it to those places as well. But I think probably the MMA website where most of the vendors would be looking. And so we would anticipate advertising this for 3 weeks and then bringing a proposal back to the board, their second meeting in November.
Right now, we don't know when we have expires.
So it was a 3-year term, Dan, and it was stated in the contract, but it did not have a date on it. And so the current vendor told us it expires in November.
Okay.
And the original contract stated that it would automatically renew if either side didn't give 30 days notice, but we don't know in 30 days.
And I talked to the vendor and they have agreed to continue honoring the terms of the contract until we go through this RFP process.
They don't know what the date is.
They just say November.
All right. So is there any more discussion on this item? All right, I'll make a motion that we approve this RFP for information technology services for the town of Belgrade.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Seeing nothing else. Ricky?
there was nothing changed in the RFP from the last one to this one.
We used something that one of our neighboring towns is using and adjusted it to fit our needs. This was something, Rick, that both Nick and I reviewed and tweaked and changed. And so we feel comfortable that this accurately reflects what the needs of the town are. But we do anticipate some different services because there is, from 3 years ago, there's a need for some heightened cybersecurity. And it is time to replace our server. And so let me look on here under services required,
Under item 20.
number 3, you can see that we are asking that they look at propose 2 different options. One would be replacing and installing a new server. And then the other would be the use of a server through a hardware as a service subscription. So this is something where different functions would be separated on virtual servers, and we would essentially be leasing the space on that server as a subscription service. So we'll see which one of those will end up working out best for the town.
Yes.
Okay, Barbara? Yeah,
Yes.
all right, 4 yeses. So that item forward. All right, the next item under new business is discussion and consideration of a contract for the installation and the monitoring of security cameras in the Belgrade Public Library. I'll take a motion to open that item. So moved. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Ricky, just say yes. Thumbs up. You got it? I can't. All right, there you are. You were lost on my little cue across the top there, Ricky. Did you raise your hand on that one?
Yes, I did. I was reading it again, deal, and that's what I'm doing.
Anthony, do you want to preface this one?
Yeah, so a representative from the Maine Municipal Association's Risk Management was here doing an annual visit recently and mentioned this grant program to assist its member municipalities in improving security. And mostly the grant covers security lighting. And you may recall it, we're pretty good in that regard, especially down at the center and at this building. And so I asked about the possibility of getting that grant for some security cameras at the library. And the representative frankly didn't know if that would be something that would be approved, but he encouraged us to go ahead and submit a grant request. So we had Seco Security, which does our video monitoring in our other facilities, go and do a quote for us. And then we submitted the grant for the amount of the quote. And we did get that grant from the MMA. We sought that before we did that, we sought the blessing of the Friends of the Belgrade Public Library, since they're the ones who actually own the facility. And so this grant would cover the full cost of the installation of the security cameras, which is about $2,500. It would involve 2 closed circuit TV cameras inside the library, and then 1 monitoring what happens out in front of the building. So the way that this grant works is that it reimburses the town for the cost. So we could initially pay this out of the library capital reserve, which has a balance of about $22,000. Once we receive the grant funding, we could deposit that back into the capital reserve in order to make that account whole. Additionally, this contract is for a $15 a month service charge for monitoring. That's the lowest level that they offer. We figured we'd start at the low level, and if we see a need for a higher level of service, then we can go to that at that time. So in your package, you have not only the contract, but a explanation of the different service plans. So we would be looking at Plan A, the bronze plan, which actually includes both Tier 1 and Tier 2 support.
Why are we doing service plan anyway, instead of just having a deal that's cloud-based?
Well, it's in their cloud.
A lot of people nowadays, businesses just use cloud-based, have their own cloud account.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Dan, I don't know if that's an option. This is essentially the same sort of service that we receive at our other facilities with our closed circuit television security cameras.
We having trouble at the library or something where we need stuff set up? Is there something going on that?
No, not at all, Rick. I mean, I view this as a security measure in 2 regards. One is that if something were to happen to one of our staff members there, or if an accusation was made against a staff member, this could provide some clarity on what happened during that situation. The other thing is if that someone broke into the building and, of course, all the contents of the building are actually owned by the town. If someone went in there and vandalized it or something, then we might be able to find out who the perpetrator was. You may recall that we recently had a threatening message left here at the town office. That person was captured on video, and the state police were able to track that person down and contact that person as a result of that video surveillance. So it's not, we're not seeking to address a problem. I think we're just seeking to hopefully prevent a problem.
And had we had these security cameras, I think there would have been some comfort a couple of years ago when we had an issue with someone stalking the library director.
I think that's true. So, when the MMA risk management person talked to us, this was really to me, the biggest hole that we had in our security, in our facilities.
And so our cost, since the grant would make this a wash in terms of the expense, our additional expense would be the $15 a month
Correct.
for the maintenance.
After the first year, or how long does that go for?
This is a 3-year contract, Rick. And so it's another one of those things that automatically renews unless we want to end the service.
Is there a way that we can tie this where this is an additional service that Seacoast would be providing? Can we tie it, instead of having this one piece of the contract go from this point forward and the rest of it not, can we tie it into one package for the whole town?
So I know our treasurer, Nick Poole, is with us. Nick, how is Seacoast billing us for security at our facilities? Is it individual contracts, or is there one account for the entire town?
I believe we pay just one annual fee that I'm aware of. And I think it's at the beginning of the year. I think that encompasses the town office and the CFAS, if I'm correct. I would have to look into that more.
Okay, so we could ask them if we could just make this as part of that lump sum.
Just so
payment
that
at
we're
the beginning
not
of the year.
doing where we're approving this now and then 9 months from now or a year and a half, we're gonna remember to get this piece if we tie it in together, because I remember asking if we were getting like a multi-facility, some sort of a discount from Seacoast. Is there no security at the North Belgrade Community Center?
No, there is not. Just trying to remember if there's a burglar alarm, but there's not.
So I know this isn't part of this grant, but I wonder if we should maybe consider, just so that we have all of our town facilities under some sort of, no,
No cameras up there.
Well-
Food pantry there.
Yeah, and
right?
we wouldn't necessarily need video surveillance there, but we might want an alarm
An
system there.
alarm system,
And we could budget that into the 2022 budget.
just a punch in, punch
Well,
in.
how many different people are still using that place for meals and stuff? Because every time, all the people that go in there seem to have keys to that place.
We'll see, and that's also been an issue in the past, is that we don't really know who all has keys for the North Belgrade Community Center.
At this point, Dan, the only regular users I'm aware of at that facility are the food pantry, and then there's the once a month potluck supper that happens there.
We have to make sure that whoever's going to be responsible for that is comfortable to be able to arm and disarm alarms. Also, we're going to be chasing false alarms all the time.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think we should consider it, and if we need to consider rekeying that building so that now we know who's got a key.
Yeah.
Doesn't the senior resource committee want to start meeting there?
That's what I've talked about, possibly that is like a senior center, so.
Yeah.
Yep, so a couple of things we'll want to maybe take care of at another meeting, think about it and see how we. And can we maybe just reach out to Seacoast and see what they would give us for a cost for adding that to our facilities as well?
adding North Belgrade or the library?
Adding the library, but then on a side note, what would the additional cost be, not necessarily for this meeting, but to bring back, so if we were
Okay.
to do security at the North Belgrade Community Center as well.
Okay. And I'll ask Seacoast if they can just put this with however we pay for our other security service contract, just do it all at one
Move it
time.
all together. It's more simple, I think. All right, is there any more discussion on this item? All right, then I will take a motion. Make a motion that we move forward with a contract for the installation and monitoring of security cameras at the Belgrade Public Library to be paid for out of the library capital reserve until the grant money comes in, and then replenish that with that grant money.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So that motion include them getting that contract in with the rest of the town. If
Yes,
it's gonna be separate one, I'm not interested in dealing with separate contracts.
no. And on the contingency that Seacoast agrees to just group it in with a regular time frame.
Okay. I'll call the representative I've been talking with tomorrow.
All right, so moved and seconded. Dan,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Right, 4 yeses. All right, next up, we have the discussion of the treasurer's quarterly report. I'll take a motion to open that item. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All right, Nick, you're on the hot seat.
Okay, I don't have too much to say, I don't think. When I was doing this up, I was worried about general government just because of all the extra legal fees we had. But comparing it to last year, I did notice that we're in pretty good shape considering that this year we were pretty much fully staffed and we had all those legal fees come in. And then going through, oh, go ahead.
A quick question on the legal expenses. I know at our last board meeting, I had noticed on some of the budget stuff that the legal, some of it was, we requested whatever's left in the select board special fund.
Yeah.
Special fund, that be used, and that if the legal item was overrun, I just want to make sure that that was moved so that it's, if it's really 75% expended or 80% expended, we know that.
Yes, that's all fixed. That was corrected. I think Anthony told me at the last budget, at the last select board meeting. But yeah, and all the other departments, I was going through them and they're all pretty much identical to what we were last year. Like I said, there's some areas like the rec center, I believe, and some of the facilities that are a little bit more and some are a little bit less. And I think most of that's due to just the town being more back to some normalcy. Also, I don't know if you guys saw that last note, but bank interest is falling again. And we were at 0.3 on our sweep and 0.35 on our ICS. That's going down to 0.2 and 0.25. And Jason said he doesn't see that. He doesn't see it going up anytime soon. I think that's really it. I mean, everything looks good, a lot better than I thought it would be when I was going through it. Anybody have any questions or anything?
Yeah, what does ICS stand for?
I couldn't tell you what ICS is. It's just another account we had that we put our excess funds into just to gain a little bit of interest. I think it has, oh, hang on. I can look that up. Insured cash sweep. So I think it just has more protection federally. Jason's the one that brought that to our attention, I think it was the beginning of this year, because interest was just falling like crazy. I think last year, maybe not last year, but around the beginning of 2020, we were at like 1.8 or something like that and getting a lot of interest money. So where we are now is pretty crazy, and hopefully that changes soon, but Jason said he doesn't see that anytime soon.
So we have a certain number of transactions that we can make moving money from the ICS account to the sweep account each month. And so Nick monitors that pretty closely and tries to keep as much money as he can in the ICS account simply because it earns a tick more interest than the sweep account. And then as needed, he'll move money from ICS to the sweep and then back again once that's available to us. So he's done a really good job of monitoring that, trying to maximize our bank interest earnings this year.
And then we just keep that little bit at Skowhegan savings in case we need some quick cash.
That's right, just for petty cash or cash drawers or whatever the case might be. Because it earns no interest, and so it behooves us to have as many funds congregated together as possible. So we've done that through Andrew Scoggins, and when Nick refers to Jason, he's talking about the banker that we deal with, Jason Simcock. One of the things I appreciate about Jason is he is a former town manager. And so he understands our business and our needs and has been a really good resource for us when it comes to offering advice over how to manage some of these funds.
Thanks.
Also, Melanie, I wanted to call attention to the revenues as well. So you can see with two exceptions, where we're right on the money at 75% of the fiscal year. Otherwise, we have earned in excess of what we budgeted for revenue. And so that's good news as well.
Yeah, the boat excise tax especially. Everybody was buying boats.
Yeah.
Wanted to
Just
come in their
traveling, everybody
boats
was just buying boats and staying home.
and using all those chips because they need a new TVs. All right, does anybody have any questions for Nick?
No, looks like we're right on track.
We appreciate you doing this, Nick.
Yes, thank you, guys.
You're welcome. All right, so there's no action that needs to happen on that. So the next item on the agenda is the town warrant. Motion to open that item
So moved.
and seconded. All those in favor, Ricky? And Melanie, yes.
Yes.
That item's open for discussion. Here I noticed to Jill Clooney, we had a craft fair refund of $0.
Yeah. So she back earlier in the year, I want to say it was August, was unable to attend a craft fair. She was promised a refund, never received it. And so she contacted us and provided us verification that that was in fact the case. And so we refunded her she was a vendor, her fee for her booth.
But there's, okay, so it was 50 for that. And, oh, on page 2, we have a trailer for a sign.
Yes. So that's not the trailer. Those are parts. So you may recall that we talked about getting a trailer to put the digital speed sign on, because otherwise we were just lugging it from place to place.
I thought on one of our last warrants, there was the trailer for the
There
sign.
was. So
Okay.
these are just nuts and bolts and all, just to modify the trailer, just to put the speed sign on it, secure the speed sign on the trailer. So it was just a few little extra parts in order to help secure the signs of the trailer.
Oh, on page 4, we've got a couple of repairs for windows that I'm not sure which Dalton facility.
That was Dalton 8, and so we had a new tenant in there. And when she moved in, she noticed some repairs that needed to be made to the facility. And so this was just part of that sort of accommodating a new tenant over there.
So what was wrong with the windows?
There were some gaps between the pane and the frames, and so it was just leaking air, if you will.
And we're responsible for,
So it is our facility. I will say though, what our leasing agent did do is because of what the market is, she increased the rent on that. And so I forget what we were earning before, but she raised it to like $1,500 a month, just like that. So yeah, we did have a little extra expense there, but we're also earning extra revenue there than what we had anticipated.
Okay, so are there any other windows or anything that need to be replaced?
No, that was it. There were just a few little minor repairs, and so the tenant let us and the leasing agent know, and Chris attended to it straight away.
Boots on H2 for transfer station, I assume.
Yes, sir.
So it's waterproof boots, are those steel toe?
Yes, sir. Yeah, everything that they wear over there is steel toe.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And is that same amount budgeted for everyone?
Yeah, I do believe that we provide footwear for everyone over there.
And do they get, I think I've asked this in the past, is it one pair per year?
Yes.
Because I know, well, the way we used to do it in the city of Augusta was every day you got $100 towards that. And if you wanted more expensive boots, you could pitch in the extra. But if you're comfortable with that one, I just assume they'd be warm and dry. Not there. That looks like it from me. Rick, did you have anything? Nothing this time? And I'm sorry, Anthony, I forgot to ask you to do the warrant number and the.
Oh, I'm
total
sorry. So
amount.
this is warrant number 126 in the amount of $145,965.44.
All right, so I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Rick,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
All right, 4 yeses. Is this the one for actual signing?
Yes.
Okay, so don't like hand scratch it and throw it over there. All right, next up, we have the town manager's report.
So the first paragraph there, I wanted to update you on 3 different matters, and I'll let the rest of the written reports stand as presented. First, on our search for a code enforcement officer. So we have an applicant who is currently working as a code enforcement officer for 20 hours a week in another community, and wishes to make that a full-time career. And so I've been working with the town manager in that community to determine how that might work. We actually met earlier today on that, and I'm very encouraged by that. We anticipate interviewing that candidate not next week, but the following week. And hopefully we can bring a recommendation soon to the select board. But so far, partnering to provide a full-time job with benefits is actually potentially going to be a cost savings to the town of Belgrade, because Gary Fuller's rate is so high given his number of years of service. And this is a fairly new code enforcement officer, but he is fully certified, is licensed as an OPI. So I'm very hopeful about that situation. Any questions about that?
Have we had any other applications for the code enforcement officer position?
I received one today. I don't consider it to be a serious application. And so I think right now, this code enforcement officer, part-time code enforcement officer in this other community is our best option at the moment. So, and speaking of hires, tomorrow we will be doing 2 more interviews for recreation director applicants. We did 2 last week, and they were 2 good candidates in my opinion. So we will do those interviews tomorrow afternoon, and then the interview panel will have a chance to sort of ruminate on that. And hopefully we'll again be able to bring a recommendation to you at your next meeting. The budgeting process. So we had a second meeting with our budget committee last week, and I think it was a productive meeting. We are now waiting on benefit numbers from the MMA to find out what the cost of our insurance premiums will be in 2022. A couple of members of the budget committee said that with their businesses, that the experience has been pretty good, just as far as the increase in insurance premiums has been pretty minimal for them thus far. And so that gives us some hope that maybe the same will be true for us. But once we get those final numbers, then we're going to plug those in and come back with the budget committee and just give it one more wash through, and then we'll be ready to present it to the select board. But I will give you just a little heads up on some of the recommendations that are going to be coming from the budget committee. And mainly that is to address our compensation package for our employees, because it's as you know, a very competitive market when you have fast food chains paying $17 an hour right now in order to attract workers. So what the budget committee has agreed to or on is a minimum wage for our workers of $15 an hour. The possibility of a 2% merit raise in 2022, increasing our contribution to the employees' insurance from 90% to 100%, and then also increasing the retirement match. Currently it's 3% to 5%. So we will have some more detailed budget figures for you, obviously, when we present this. It's not going to be an inexpensive proposition, but one that I think I and Nick and Mary, who have worked on the budget with me, and our budget committee feel like it's just imperative right now so that we can get those positions filled and hopefully retain talent.
Can we possibly reach out to some neighboring communities and see what they're doing?
Yeah, so I will tell you, Melanie, so some of these came up in my discussion with the town manager about the code enforcement officer. And in that community, they pay 100% of employees' premiums, plus 50% of the family's insurance premiums, which I thought was astounding.
How many employees do they have?
They are bigger than we are. So I don't know how many employees, but they have more employees than what we do. They match up to 6% of the retirement. So I will gather some of those figures. You may know that we recently lost a deputy clerk to the town of Oakland, and they vested us on retirement match, insurance, and just hourly rate. Of course, they are much bigger than we are as well, but that's sort of what we're competing against. And that's the end of my report.
Does anybody have any questions?
Melanie, just one thing. When you guys are doing a meeting, I've had my hand raised a couple times and you guys aren't seeing it. I don't know what's happening.
No, I haven't seen it when you raised it in the beginning and we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I've raised it 2 other times. I've taken it down. The last one was on the code enforcement. So we've only had 2. I guess my question was, that I was trying to get was, we've only had 2 applicants total for code enforcement officer for Belgrade.
No, Bruce, I think total we've had 4 or 5, but I think only of those, only 2 of them were serious candidates, and only 1 of them was credentialed.
So I guess my question is if you got that many applicants, why are we doing only 1 interview, not interview the others? I guess that's my question to the board.
Well, I will answer that because I don't think there's any value in interviewing people who are clearly not qualified for the job.
But that's how you start as a code enforcement officer, is you start out with a town that isn't full-time, and you work through to get your qualifications for code enforcement and plumbing.
And one of the candidates that we were going to interview, and just today he withdrew his application, was in that boat where he had no credentials, and so he would have spent the first year earning his certification as a code enforcement officer, which can be done. But you cannot serve as a licensed plumbing inspector until you actually have your license, and so that's why I'm encouraged by the possibility of partnering with another town to hire a code enforcement officer who already has his certification and already has his LPI license.
I think we should be interviewing all
So that's my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's too bad to narrow it down to one person while interviewing other people. That's just me.
Yeah, so I tell you what, I mean, Dan, you're serving on the interview panel, so I'll share with you the applications that we've gotten. And you know, I'd be interested in your thoughts once you see the applications.
of them. Yeah, but I mean, I didn't realize there was that many people that applied either. We typically try to interview everybody. We give them the shot to interview.
Well, I mean, again, I prefer to interview people who I think are qualified for the job. I mean, you know, as a for instance, when the select board hired a town manager, I don't think that they interviewed everybody who applied for the job. I think they went through a process of looking through applications and resumes and
Oh,
determining.
they probably didn't, but I can guarantee they didn't interview one.
Well, yes, but again, I mean, I honestly believe that, and you know, as you know, we had plans to interview another person. But I honestly believe that the one that we have is far and away the most qualified of anyone who has applied. I'd be happy to show you those applications.
Like it's, I mean, that may be the, but yeah. I mean, as a courtesy, when somebody applies, if we've got 4 or 5 people, you know, if there were 10 or 20, yeah, you pick first the top 5 or 6.
Well, and two, you know, I am also mindful of the fact that we do have volunteers who are helping us through this process. And I'm going to be mindful and respectful of their time as well.
No,
When we had the interviews for the library director, we had 3 applications and they were all qualified, so we interviewed all 3 of them. But they were all qualified candidates.
Yeah, and you may recall, Barbara, I mean, we had more applicants than people that we interviewed in our most recent hiring of a library director. And I shared some of those other applications with the interview panel, and there was agreement that, yeah, some of these people are not qualified, but these people definitely are, and these are the ones we want to talk to.
and are we still, I just want to make sure that the policy doesn't fall off, that anybody who submitted an application, that we still send them a follow-up letter from the town saying, thank you for your interest in this position. We've chosen not to.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
And for those that we do interview, I personally call them and talk with them about the choice that we've made.
Thank you for that. All right, so one thing I talked to Anthony about was that we've got to get the public water supply system back in front of this board. So we need an agenda that's not overly heavy, because that is going to take us some time. So if we can, well, first up in November, we'll have the 2 back-to-back meetings. So if we want to pick one of those, whichever one has the lighter agenda, and decide how we're going to move forward. And if anybody has an idea for a plan B, because we tried plans B and C to see if they would work, and we don't have another plan. The water supply system, if we move forward with it and it doesn't serve its purpose, what do we do? So, and I feel like, you know, Dan and I were on the original committee, and I feel like we need some more people's input so that we can get moving forward with this and getting this figured out.
So Melanie, is there a time frame? Do we have time enough to be able to get it on March's town meeting election time, or are we past that?
What we need to figure out, Bruce, is if it has to go to the town. The select board is authorized to make decisions on behalf of the town if they are in the town's best interest. So we have to decide how we move forward with it. Historically, we've put that before the taxpayers. So that's why I feel like I just want a full board here present, you know, some public input, and decide how we do move forward, because DOT would like to start doing something in the spring of 2022. So we gotta figure out what we're doing and how we're gonna do it.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna get it on this year's ballot, we got, you guys are gonna really have to move, get rolling in the next month.
Right. So maybe, I'm thinking the second meeting possibly in November, because whoever will be the next person on the select board is really gonna need at least one meeting to get their sea legs before we push them right over the edge of the boat on the next one with this. Right, Barbara?
Exactly right, exactly right.
So if we think the second meeting in November,
Yeah, I mean, I already know of 3 or 4 different agenda items. I've already started working on the November 9th agenda, and we already got, like I said, 3 or 4 items slated for that.
okay, so if we look at the 9th, 17th,
Jay has a comment.
yeah, I'd suggest it's more respectful. Sorry, where did that just go? I would suggest it's more respectful to not interview candidates who clearly are not qualified than to put, I can't see that, to put them in the interview committee through the ordeal. All right, does anybody else have anything? All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded. All right, all those in favor, Rick,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened to our